Questions, feel free to jump in, and we're just literally going to read this page by page, and you guys are expected to follow these rules. So remember, this is going to be for a new employee, so we have the welcome aboard front page here, which is not anybody in here, but this is going to be given to any new employees. So welcome to the FNS team. We're hopeful that this opportunity will be a mutually beneficial relationship. We're hoping that this opportunity will be a mutually beneficial relationship. Our goal is to recruit, hire, and retain the very best construction employees and to be rewarded by a professionally produced work product delivered to our customers in a safe, competent, consistent, and timely manner. We'd like to take this opportunity through this handbook to personally welcome you and introduce you to some of our policies and procedures. Welcome to the FNS family, and we're proud to have you with us. All right, now again, this is a working document, if you will, so it's designed to acquaint you with the FNS frame and trim and provide you with important information about working conditions, benefits, policies affecting your employment. It is intended as a guideline, is presented here only as a matter of information, as not to be construed as creating an employee contract. Again, anybody's free to leave at any point in time. We have the right to dismiss anybody at any point in time. Keep in mind that this employee handbook is a working document in the sense that things change over time. No employee handbook can anticipate every circumstance or question about policy. As FNS frame and trim progresses and as the need may arise, our company reserves the right to revise, supplement, or rescind any policies, procedures, and or portions of the handbook at any time as it deems appropriate in our sole and absolute discretion. Employees will be notified in writing of such changes to the handbook as they occur. So if we do have any changes, you guys will get an email. Please note, FNS Frame and Trim is always open to new ideas and strongly encourages everyone within our organization to speak their mind. Our company is built on safety, reliability, consistency, professionalism, accountability, and effective communication amongst ourselves as well as our customers and vendors. FNS Frame and Trim will always make the decision which best suits the company's needs and fosters growth in a positive manner. By all means, you guys got any ideas? Run them by us. You're responsible for reading, understanding, and applying the provisions of this handbook. Each employee is important to us. We are committed to attracting and retaining quality people. To accomplish this, we intend to maintain a competitive wage and benefit program, as well as making this a pleasant, rewarding place to work. We believe in treating all of our employees fairly and with the respect that they deserve. All right, a lot of this stuff is kind of redundant, but we have to address some of this stuff. FNS Frame and Trim fully complies with all applicable state and federal laws. This includes, but is not limited to, those relating to medical, family, or military leave, equal opportunity, or any other terms and conditions of employment. If you have any questions about policy or interpretation, please contact management. Right off the bat, the company rules. I go through this with every interview during the process of anybody being hired. 7 requirements for every person, regardless of their rank and position within the company, to work with FNS Frame and Trim. Be to work on time every single day. Arrive to the job site / office on time in order to start preparing for the day. You must come with all of your required tools, equipment, and attire. Work hard. That's pretty self-explanatory. We expect everyone to work hard. Get along with your coworkers. If you're not getting along with someone, please pull your supervisor to the side and explain in private. Do not cause a scene on site. If you or anyone engages in physical violence or any actions that could cause damage or injury, you'll be terminated immediately. There's no fighting out there. What we're trying to do in this day and age is be safety-oriented, professional. Our shirts stay on at all times. You know, we look the part. You guys know how it works with the residential or the more lax jobs. Shorts are okay by the contractor. Cool, we wear shorts. Most of our stuff is pants, boots, hard hats. You got to have that stuff in your car. So make sure whenever you're wearing pants to the job site, have a pair of shorts in the truck and vice versa, because you might be rerouted at 10 a.m. in the middle of a day. If a guy has an emergency and there's 3 guys working on another job site, we might say, hey, Nick, sorry, man, but you got to go down 20 minutes down the road. If you're wearing shorts, you need to have a pair of pants in the vehicle just in case that happens. We try not to do that. We don't have a lot of stuff of rerouting at 9 p.m. or 5 a.m., but it happens. Stuff happens. And the example that we always use is if you have a job where maybe Steve's a cut man and he's got Dave and Brian up on the scaffolding doing something, you got to have 3 guys to be productive and efficient. Well, if someone calls in that morning at 5:30 and says, hey, I got an issue with my kid, I'm not going to make it today, well, then we're going to take someone else to put him over there. If you're working at an arbor terrace and we got 20, 25 guys on site, one guy doesn't, come in for a legitimate reason, we don't need to do anything about it. So Be prepared, be proactive. Come to work every single day with a great attitude. Require positive and upbeat people to come work with us to obtain our goals. Our goals are to provide a high level of safety-oriented service and professionalism to our clients, which in turn will lead to wage increases and larger bonuses for employees who understand the company's needs and perform. You're required to think and be proactive. We are willing and able to train and teach a reliable, responsible, and motivated individual. Communicate effectively. Have fun. Smile. Life's too short. Most of us are at the age where we realize that life is short, and it's going to go by very, very quick. These are the requirements to work with F&S Frame and Trim. In order to progress and advance in the company from a pay and authority perspective, you need to do all of these well and produce with regards to the position you've been hired for. The better you perform your assigned task in a safe, efficient, correct, and clean manner, the more you'll be considered for advancement in pay and authority. We're going to push and challenge everyone in order to maximize efficiency and productivity. If you're unable to do these things, we will verbally discuss, followed by written, documented discipline or help for you to avoid eventual termination. I've never hired someone and they walked out of the office and said, I cannot wait to fire that person. Never, ever, ever have. But we've had to fire some people here and there. We're going to talk to you. We're going to tell you stop being late. We're going to do it in a very respectful manner as time goes on. If you continue not to do what we need you to do, it's going to be a little bit more harsh. There'll be some written documentation. Eventually, we're going to extend our hand and say, hey, made a decision not to continue working with you, and we appreciate your efforts while you're here, and we made a decision to let you go. Equal employment opportunity. In order to provide equal employment and advanced opportunities to all individuals, employment decisions at F&S Frame and Trim will be based on merit and qualifications. We do not discriminate based on race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, or disability. We don't care about any of that stuff, plain and simple. If you can do the job, then you get the job. If you can do the job better than the other guy, well, then you're going to get promoted. We do factor into account longevity and other things like that, but our company has always been based on the premises on who has the best opportunity to succeed. With that said, Family and Medical Leave Act. Eligible employees may take up to 12 weeks of unpaid job-protected leave per year for specified family and medical reasons. To be eligible for family and medical leave, employees must have been employed by F&S Frame and Trim for at least 12 months and must have worked 1,250 hours during the previous 12-month period. The company will grant family and medical leave in the following cases: to care for an immediate family member, spouse, child, or employee's parent with a serious health condition, to care for a newborn or placement of a child with the employee for adoption or foster care. The employee has a serious health condition which makes the employee unable to perform their job duties. Harassment, including sexual harassment. F&S Frame and Trim is committed to providing a work environment that is free from discrimination and unlawful harassment. Actions, words, jokes, or comments based on the individual's sex, race, ethnicity, age, religion, or any other legally protected characteristic will not be tolerated. If you believe you've been the victim of harassment or know of any other employee who has, report it immediately to your supervisor or the Human Resources Department. The matter will be handled in a timely and confidential manner. Employees can raise concerns and make reports without fear of reprisal. Any issues with that stuff, you come directly to myself or Mike or Kim and let us know what the situation is. We'll handle it in private, and we just can't do that stuff. It's 2019. Things are a lot different than what a lot of us grew up with. I mean, back in the day, before my time, but Mike ran a crew for many, many years. Get some beers after the job, sit on the job site, have a few beers, a long time ago. You can't do that stuff anymore. You used to be able to say certain things, and you just can't say those things. You guys see all the stuff that's going on. You be respectful. If the Cowboys lose, then Russ is going to get made fun of, those kind of things. We talk about football, we talk about those things, but you can't talk about certain things anymore with regards to race, to sex, to your sexual orientation, or anything like that. It's really kind of sad to see where some of the stuff is going with this political correctness crap, but we do need to show a level of respect to each other. Jury duty, military leave. Employees will be granted time off to serve on a jury or military leave without pay. However, all regular employees, both full-time and part-time, will be kept on the active payroll until their civic duties have been completed. A copy of the jury duty summons and all of the associated paperwork are required for the personnel file. Who's veterans in here? Can you raise your hand? All right, I appreciate all of you guys' service. We have a lot of respect for people that have served. And if anything does come about with that stuff, you absolutely will have the time that you need. We show a very high level of respect for people that have served. and Mike and I are very, very big onto that. All right, work schedule. This is kind of generally speaking. Your hours will be set by your supervisor, subject to change. Promptness is a mandatory requirement. Standard work week is 40 hours, begins on Sunday at 12:01 a.m. through Saturday at 12 a.m. Our office hours are 8 to 4:30 p.m. daily. However, different office employees have varying work schedule times. Those are discussed and agreed upon with each employee and management. Field personnel work schedule is as follows. Like everything else, this is subject to change. 7 a.m. is our start time. We ask you guys to be there about 10 minutes early, start shaking the cobwebs out, finishing your coffee, getting prepared. So we start at 7. 9:30 to 9:45 is break. It's paid. No one's permitted to leave the job site. The only time you can leave the job site if 7-Eleven happens to be right there and you can literally walk there. But other than that, it's 15 minutes. You don't have time to get in your car, to go somewhere, and to come back. This is for you to check your phones. This is for you to get a little something to eat, use the bathroom, whatever you need to do. That's a paid break. We've always had this. We don't have to do this. We do this out of respect for you guys, and we feel you should have a break. But there's companies out there that don't pay you for that break time. There's companies out there that don't give you that break time. So please keep that in mind. 12:30 to 1, lunch. It's not paid. You're allowed to go to Publix, McDonald's, wherever you want to go. You're allowed to leave, but you need to be back by 1 o'clock ready to go. And again, we hit it on the drug-free workplace. During lunchtime, you're not getting paid, but you do not have the right to get messed up and come back to work. You are doing dangerous work. People are relying on you for their safety, for their ability to take care of their families. And if you're messed up doing what we do, if you're messed up in the office, it's not good. But if you're messed up doing what you guys do, scaffolding, 2 stories, 5 stories, 30 feet in the air, ladders, sawzalls, drills, you don't have the right to put everyone else's you-know-what on the line. I had one situation, and the person's in this room, I'm not going to say the person, but I asked how a former employee was doing. And he hadn't talked to the employee, and he said, do you know what happened one time? Well, on the way to Fenway, he was shooting up in my car. And I looked at that person, and I said, I kind of want to punch you in the face and kick you in the, there's ladies in here, so I'm not going to say it at the same time. He goes, I didn't do anything. I wasn't doing any of that. I go, well, how about this? That guy's setting up scaffolding 30 feet in the air for you to work on. Right now, you're talking to me in a wheelchair. Because he set up scaffolding wrong, you fell, you broke your back, you'll never walk again. You do anything in the world to go back to myself or Mike and say, hey man, I don't want to be the narc, I don't want to be the rat here, but this guy is putting something into his body, and it's not safe. Please, if you guys have any of this stuff, come to us. Our policy when it comes to this kind of stuff is we're never going to use your name. We're not going to put you out on that island, if you will, to be criticized or labeled as a rat. But if people are getting messed up out there, we need to know about it. I've worked very, very hard the last 14 years to provide for my daughter and to try and build this business as much as we can to have a good company. And you don't have the right to take that all away from me because you want to get high and come to work, or because you want to get drunk and come to work. Again, 3:30 rolls around or 4 o'clock. What you do is your time. How you spend your money, none of my business. But if your actions start creating negativity within our business, then it becomes my business. Periodically and typically when the time changes, right now, springs forward, I know. I don't want to hear any complaining about it, I know. We do 7 to 3:30 for sunlight, for summertime, and for traffic. We know 4 really changes things. 7:30 to 4 changes things. But, well, it's that much more traffic. So we know it sucks. As soon as we can get back to it, I think it's about 7:39 or something like that right now is sunrise. Hopefully they'll change this daylight savings time because I don't know why they do it. It's pitch black at 7 o'clock in the morning. So periodically we're going to have to go with 7:30 to 4. Variables such as job site lighting. Melvin recently was on a job where he continued to work at 7 because he had lights set up. Scheduling, weather, many other factors can change our work schedule. Weekend work, sometimes we need it. 16 and 17, we had a spurt of about a year where we worked every single Saturday. And every single person that didn't miss any time got overtime because we had arbor going on and we had so much stuff going on. We had 65 guys working in the field, and we were still falling behind, so we were working overtime. Anything, we'll get to overtime, but Questions, comments on the work schedule? Outside employment. This is important. Outside employment that constitutes conflict of interest is prohibited. Employees may not receive any income or material gain from individuals outside F&S Frame and Trim for materials, products, or services rendered while working during F&S hours. F&S Frame and Trim employees are strictly prohibited from working with F&S Frame and Trim clients, customers, and or vendors without authorization from upper management. We have no desire to be in competition with our own employees. You guys generate your own side work, weekend work, nothing to do with the company, that's fine. You're working on one of our job sites, you do not work for that guy for cash or whatever it is without getting authorization from us. Depending on the situation, depending on the customer, there's a lot of stuff that you guys don't know what's going on. Certain people might owe us money, certain people might be a pain in the ass. There's all kinds of stuff that you guys may know, you guys may not know. If someone approaches you, one of our customers approaches you, you talk to me first. We don't want to hamper anybody from doing any side work, and there's been certain situations, a lot with Steve Chapel here, who's been here for a long time, where, you know, we had some stuff for a good customer that had some personal stuff he needed done at his house. We were just too slammed, we couldn't get there, and we allowed Steve to take the work truck and to work out a deal that he was paid, and that was fine, but he brought it to our attention. So if anybody solicits any side work or extra work that's one of our customers, again, we don't want to prohibit anybody from making any money or from working, you know, the weekends and trying to do better for them and their families, but you got to talk to us. This is very, very important. Overtime. F&S Frame and Trim may periodically schedule overtime or weekend work to meet our business needs. All overtime work performed by an hourly employee must receive the supervisor's prior authorization. For purposes of calculating overtime, only actual hours of work will be considered. All overtime work will be paid at time and a half of an employee's hourly wage. We don't cross the line when it comes to playing by the rules. There's a lot of companies out there. I'm not going to mention any names, but there's a lot of people, and I can almost assure you a handful of people in this room have seen the situation before where they work 40 at straight time, anything overtime is cash, or sometimes they'll work 20 hours on the books and then 20 hours cash. That we don't operate that way. Everything's by the book. You get your taxes taken out, all the FICA, FUTA, SUTA, Medicaid, all that stuff, everything's by the book. You work 40 and a half hours, you get 40 straight time and a half an hour of overtime. 50 hours, 40 at straight time, 10 hours at time and a half. Everything we do is by the book within our company when it comes to that. Timekeeping. The office accurately recording time worked is the responsibility of every office employee. Time worked is the time actually spent on performing assigned duties. The time record is a legal instrument. Altering or falsifying time records will not be tolerated, and doing so may lead to disciplinary action and or termination. Time sheets are to be filled out daily. For the field, site foremen are responsible for accurately recording their crew members' time. If you as a crew member have any questions or concerns about your time worked, contact your foreman first. And if you can't get any answers, contact Aaron, our payroll coordinator. It will be handled accordingly in a professional and timely fashion. If you can't get a hold of Aaron, or if you're still not getting anywhere, call me and we'll get it figured out. There's probably a handful of people in here that we have messed up. The foremen do make mistakes too, and we have both underpaid people and both overpaid people. We expect you to talk to us if there's anything going on and let us know, and we'll get it fixed right away. We pride ourselves on paying all of our employees, our vendors, everyone. Most of you guys don't really deal with the vendors and don't know the banding lumbers and the Builder's First Source and A1 Trust and all this stuff. From very, very early on within this company's history, my old man realized how important it was to pay the vendors quickly. So when we have that emergency, they send someone out and they get us those 2x4s or those pieces of Hardy. Everything that we do out there is paid for by us. A lot of people that do our kind of work, they do labor only. So they provide the tools, they provide the carpenters, they provide nails and the crane. That's about it. Well, we have Gary and Brian and Russ putting these things together, these takeoffs together, and the girls are putting it all together. Everything out there is paid for by us, and most of it is paid within a week. We get good buying power when we do that, and then again, when you call that vendor and say, hey, I know it's 11 o'clock on Wednesday, but you know, Steve needs 42x4s out there. If they can do it, they're going to do it. Paydays. Employees will be paid every Friday for the period of Sunday through Saturday of the previous week. So we're 1 week behind. Your paychecks will be direct deposited in your bank account. If payday happens to fall on a holiday, employees will receive their pay the day before. F&S Frame and Trim does not issue paper checks, therefore direct deposit is required. Your direct deposit will be for your account only. Written authorization from an employee to F&S Frame and Trim is required in order to have your pay deposited into an account that does not bear your legal name. It's happened a couple times where people said, hey, can you put it in my wife's account or this person, whatever. We can do that, but you need a written authorization saying, so when you come back and say, well, my wife left me or whatever it is, that's on you. And we actually had someone, I forget the circumstances, before you guys were here, someone gave us like one account number wrong or one number wrong or something like, I forget what it was. And we put some money in some random person's account. And we actually, I was so upset. And it was a guy that was with us for like a month. He was a moron, but we ended up paying that guy anyway, even though he was the one who had screwed it up. All right, neatness of work area. It is F&S Frames and Trim policy to keep all areas of the business neat, clean, and professional in appearance. This applies to the office, our construction yard, and our job sites. This is also a safety policy of the company. Inappropriate or distasteful pictures, posters, or calendars are not permitted on company property, including job sites and within company vehicles. A neat, clean job site is a safe job site, and the customers love it. We just, maybe 6 or 8 months ago when we had a foreman's meeting, we told all the foremen, every day we clean. Every single day we clean, and especially before the weekends. A lot of times the owners and the contractors are walking through that job site, and it could be on a Wednesday night, could be on the weekend, but a lot of times on the weekends you're going to have people within there. We don't want nails sticking up. It just makes us look really, really bad if the job site's a disaster. So please, we gotta keep clean job sites and keep clean in general. And if we have a big job like an IMG or an Arbor, we can get you some day laborers that can clean up. Right now we don't have anything that's really that massive, so we just have a group effort of cleaning towards the end of the day, and then we come to a nice clean job site the next morning. Company property, all desks, file cabinets, company cell phones, tablets, computers, tools, supplies, furniture, vehicles, trailers, equipment, etc. are the property of F&S Frame and Trim and must always be accessible to management. The use of personal locks on company offices, furniture, file cabinets, vehicles, or other property is not permitted. F&S Frame and Trim assumes no liability for personal property, including electronic equipment, vehicles, tools, tool bags, toolboxes, etc., brought onto company premises, job sites, and or parking lots. Copiers, computers, furniture, and other office equipment are for company business use only and should not be removed from the premises without the express written consent of F&S Frame and Trim. Guys, we spend a lot of money and we got a lot of tools out there. Please treat them with respect. Don't steal. Some of you guys were here when we had the issue over at Fenway, but we had a laser that went missing. It's a $600 laser. It's about a $600 laser, and unfortunately it was the contractors who let us borrow it. So I didn't exactly know what to do. We searched the job site all over the place, and predominantly it was us on site. I don't remember if there were some other trades out there, but we figured out what we could do. And what we did was, either Mike or Mark, I can't remember who addressed the crew, we said, okay, $600 laser. This is embarrassing, and it's about the money, but now it's about the principle. So now we look like assholes. We look like thieves to the customer that was nice enough to let us borrow the $600 laser. All right, guys. We're going to administer a lie detector test to all of you, a polygraph to all of you. Someone took the laser, and we said we're going to do it the next day or two. Mark, what happened when you went to the job site the next day? Just again, back to life in general. I've from a very early age on, I've been taught some certain things. You don't steal, and you don't lie, you don't cheat. So please be respectful of the company property. Yeah, go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, right. That don't happen. That don't happen. all right, fair enough, it's liable on the other guy.
Yeah, yeah. And that's going to be a case-by-case basis. I've had that situation before where we have reimbursed someone. For the most part, and we have a section in here with what you guys need to have for your gear and everything, and we'll get to that. I can't say 100% yes, but talk to me. That's what I can tell you is talk to me. We've had issues before. We had over at Arbor when we had one guy that lost a saw, and then another guy lost a bunch of, he had brought his portable. Your name or your initials is on your harness, your speed square, all that stuff, so that if it does come up missing, and if we do find anybody stealing that we can prove, you're gonna be fired. You're gonna be terminated right then and there. That's a good point. We had a situation. Yeah, go ahead. Do you have a question, Alberto? Put your name on it. I understand what you're saying, and then the foreman has to, be that middleman, if you will, and see what it is. You guys are more than welcome to bring whatever it is you want, and we'll get to the requirements on what you guys need to do, and we provide everything else: saws, sawzalls, drills, hoses, compressors, nail guns, planers, all that stuff. We provide most of the stuff out there.
Where I was going.
Again, just talk to me. It's a case-by-case basis. You have to talk to me. Talk to the foreman first and say, hey, can I leave my pigtail in here or whatever? Well, what probably you should do is if you got that three-way pigtail, put that in your car when you're leaving or your truck at the end of the day. But make sure you put some kind of markings on there. Every foreman has a certain color so that if you got 2 or 3 guys working on the same job site, they know that Steve's red and that this guy's yellow and this guy's blue, whatever it is, so you can see that gun. Okay, this is Mark's gun.
With Mark, you know how many different color guns I got in my truck? His guns breaking down.
Well, and again, you guys got to be self-sufficient in some of these areas and figure it out. And if you feel that you've been untreated, if you've not been treated fairly, you talk to the foreman, you talk to Mike, you talk to myself, and it'll be discussed on a case-by-case basis. Alberto, you had a question? What job was it on? What job was it on? It was on yours. Yeah, I don't want to stop everything right now. We will address that, and I will have some answer, and I don't want to address it right now, but we will have that answer. It's almost 10 o'clock, so I just want to do this mandatory meeting. We're going to take a break. I want to take about a 15-minute break. One other thing here. Employees are required to attend compensated periodic employee or crew meetings. These meetings are held to discuss safety, team performance, policies, procedures, new products, events, promotion, etc. This is what we're doing right now. So if you're asked to be at a meeting, you need to be at the meeting. Everyone's getting paid today, and when we have our safety management meetings, which we typically have once a month, the foremen are getting paid, Mike's coming, Kim's there, Aaron's there, Denise is there, Chess is there. So these are very important, and we don't do them that often. But if you're asked to come to a meeting, you need to be here, you need to be here on time, you need to be ready to go. We have debated a lot about you guys just keeping your phones in your vehicles. Don't want to go that route. But if it continues to be a problem, that person is going to be addressed. If we feel it's being too much of a problem with the company, then we're just going to say, you know what, foremen have their phones on it. If there's an emergency, your wife or your husband or whoever can call the foreman or whatever the situation is. We don't want to go that route, but please don't abuse the phone. You should not be texting, you should not be Facebooking, you should not be emailing during your time when you should be building, swinging a hammer, doing whatever it is that you're doing. For emergencies, we'd like everyone to have the phone. My situation, go ahead. What'd you say?
On break.
Break and lunch, right. In my situation with my special needs daughter, I would freak out if I did not have the phone. So we don't want to get to that route where everyone has to keep their phones in the vehicles. You can check them periodically, it's just for emergencies only, but we obviously all have the foreman's numbers and whatnot. That phone needs to be used only during break and lunch, period. Yeah.
It's about the job. So please.
Yeah, and it is loud. And the same thing that I've addressed to the foreman is, you got a 20-foot LVL in your hands that you're setting, and I'm calling. Call me back when you can. You see me call 2, 3, 4 times in a row, that means there's some kind of emergency, just the same as if I see you calling 2 or 3 or 4 times in a row, and there might be someone that got injured or there's some kind of emergency. So for the most part, my phone's always on. So just limit your cell phone use to what you absolutely need to, and we don't want to get to a point of saying keep all the phones in your vehicles. Yeah, and if you're, there's guys working at Wahoo and Joe's over at Riptide, that's a hike from where those things are, so I don't have a problem, with it. For the most part, yeah, but if you do need to call because you're over at Wahoo and he's over at Riptide, by all means. But I don't like getting text messages. I don't like getting emails from people, or if I go on your Facebook and I see you posted something at 8:30 in the morning, that doesn't look good, because you're sitting there, screwing off when you should be working. Suggestions, ideas, comments. Again, we had a foreman that's not with us anymore that interviewed a few years ago and said he wanted to be a foreman. We don't ever hire someone as a foreman by talking to them. They need to come out, they need to show, they need to prove that they're reliable, that they know what they're doing, that they can deal with the customer, they can deal with the carpenters, they can deal with the materials and whatnot. But this particular guy worked at a company that he said his biggest problem was no one took into account his ideas and thoughts. He'd come from California, and it was some older guys. Rorda, actually. So there were some older guys there that just wouldn't, anything he offered to say, can we maybe try it this way, or I've done experience before doing it this way. It was just, no, this is the way we do it. This is the way we do it. We don't need to talk about it. To me, that's not very smart, because you might have experience from California or, any other part of the country. You might have a way of doing things that are better, so we talk about it. And if we feel that it's going to help the company be more safe, more efficient, more productive, we'll give it a shot. At the same time, you come up with an idea and we say, that's not a bad idea, but we're not going to implement it. Don't take it personal. Don't feel discouraged. Don't get your feelings hurt. But by all means, whether it's office, whether it's the field, whatever it is, you got an idea that you think could help the company, talk about it. By all means, talk to your supervisor, talk to Mike. So please keep that in mind at all times. Bonus opportunities. Employees are eligible for bonus after 90 days of full-time employment. Referral bonus. Refer someone who gains employment, FNS, frame and trim, and that individual stays continuously employed for a period of 90 days. Employee who referred new employee receives a $100 bonus. If that employee becomes a foreman and is a successful foreman for a period of 180 days, that employee who referred the new foreman is to receive an additional $500 bonus. That's only happened once in our company's history, but we try to lean on you guys if you guys know anyone. And if you do refer someone, just shoot me or Mike straight when we ask you questions about that person. Because if that person doesn't perform, turns out to be a drama-filled person that, we get rid of quickly, we're not going to come back to you and say, hey, Rich, your guy sucked and now we're upset with you. If you know that the guy has some issues or whatever, talk to us about it. But don't hesitate to refer someone because you don't want to look foolish for us hiring someone and it doesn't work out. You're not required to go there and get them out of bed and to get them to the job site and make sure they're not on their phones or anything like that. Just when I see, your name on there, I'm probably going to call you and say, hey, what do you know about this guy? What do you know about this girl? Are they reliable? Are they safety conscious? Are they a pain in the you-know-what? And just shoot us straight. But there is a bonus for anyone that refers someone else that gains employment and stays with us. $500 quit smoking bonus. Anybody receive that in this room? That's right. That's right.
They need to.
You need to?
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to talk about that because I didn't know that you had quit.
Anyone wants to take the challenge, don't you? $500 bonus for...
Different count? Yeah.
We implemented this. We implemented this years ago, a long time ago, for two reasons. A healthier employee is typically a happier employee, and you're going to be more productive if you don't have a cigarette hanging out of your mouth. I used to smoke for many, many years. I've quit, but this is something that we stand firmly behind, and we love giving these bonuses. Again, I think it's only 2 people in our company's 40 years of being in business, but those 2 people quit smoking. It was documented, and they got $250 after a year. They got another $250 after 2 years. Congratulations to you 2 guys. It's not an easy thing to do, but we do truly like giving those bonuses out because you have a healthier employee and a more productive employee without a cigarette hanging out of your mouth. Any employee who's a known smoker, chewing tobacco user, e-cig user that quits for a period of 1 year receives a $250 bonus. If an employee goes another year without using, another $250 bonus. So it's not you quit for 3 days and you get, you know, a $500 bonus. $100 attendance bonus. This is implemented a few years ago when me and Mike got really upset and really just sick of people missing too much work. Anybody that comes to work for an entire quarter, any field people come to work for an entire quarter, miss 0 time, receive a $100 attendance bonus. So that's not being late, that's not missing any time. You need to work the weekend, we're working that weekend, you got to work. Anyone who comes for 1 quarter with 0 time missed will get a $100 attendance bonus. Rain days are decided by upper management very, very early every work day. Management will text employees when weather will cause any cancellation of regularly scheduled work activities. If you do not hear from management, you're required to go to the job site. In the rare case that management does not, typo, misspelled, does not contact you and the weather looks questionable, feel free to text your direct supervisor / foreman on that particular day. Pretty much everybody here has gone through that situation. We just had it a few weeks ago where I think Joe was the only one who worked. I can't remember, but we had almost the entire company. I think it was Tuesday last week. No, last Tuesday, didn't we all miss? So I was texting you guys, you know, 4:45, 5:15 early. I don't want to waste anybody's time, don't want to waste anybody's gas. So if you do happen to get up one day, Mark has done it a year or two ago. He called me at 5 o'clock in the morning, and for some reason I had missed it. Typically I'm checking that stuff every day, multiple times throughout the course of the day, and I know, okay, tomorrow's not looking good. With all the technology these days, I'm checking the radar, I'm checking weather.com with the hourly forecast, and sometimes I screw up. I mean, there's been days before where it's 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, it's the most beautiful day ever, and for whatever reason, and then there's other days like the Tuesday before or whatever, we went to work and it showed about 45 minutes to an hour, and it just persisted. It was just not. So I'm not trying to waste anybody's time, waste anybody's gas, but when it comes to weather, that's what we do. You don't hear from anybody, you go to work. Now again, feel free to check in with your foreman, Mike, myself, and say, hey, weather's really not looking good. You know, what's going on for today? Because occasionally we may miss it. All right. Tools and PPE requirements. Employees must have the following tools and PPE, which is personal protective equipment, as a condition to gain employment with our company. Tool bags with hammer, tape measure, utility knife, speed square, chalk line. Those are the basics. Personally, I always had a cat's paw. You can bring screwdrivers, you can bring whatever else you want, but these are the basics that you need in your tool bags. Circular saw, preferably a heavy-duty Makita or similar type as opposed to a Ryobi or Craftsman homeowner type. We're doing big boy framing. So, you know, you can get that $30 pawn store Ryobi. That thing's going to burn out real quick, and it's not going to be able to keep up. So that's your preference on what kind of saw you like. Everybody's got their own preference. I personally like Makita. Some people like DeWalt, Milwaukee. But you got to have a heavy-duty saw. 100-foot 14-gauge extension cord. You bring some of them rinky-dink things out here, it's embarrassing. The contractor's going to say, get that thing off of there. Again, we're not doing homeowner type stuff. Yeah. So we're doing, you know, larger type jobs, commercial jobs. So you need to have that 100-foot 14-gauge extension cord. Construction shoes, full body safety harness. Again, back to the safety. You're up above 6 foot. For the most part, you got to have a harness on. You got to have guardrails. You got to have some kind of safety, some kind of personal fall arrest system. We're going to get into more of that stuff here when we get to the safety talk. F&S Frame and Trim will inspect all tools prior to starting employment to both verify the employee has the required tools as well as the condition of the tools. F&S at its sole discretion has the option to disallow any tools that an employee may present for employment for any reason. Frayed cord, frayed or worn down safety harness. F&S at its sole discretion may allow certain employees to start working without all tools required depending on varying circumstances, job site conditions. Some sites may not require a hard hat while other sites may be all groundwork, therefore no safety harness needed. There's been times before where someone wants to get hired on and maybe they're new to the trade as a whole, they don't have a lot of experience. And I know that they're going to go work with, you know, someone that's at IMG, where IMG was a 5-story building that was flat roof. As we went up, we put safety rails up. So we really didn't need any harnesses or stuff. So if things work out with this employee for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they're going to need to get that. But there are certain things, certain times that we've bypassed this. So look at all that stuff. Think about everything else that goes on out there. Drills, sawzalls, levels, compressors, guns, hoses, electrical three-ways, air three-ways, planers, jigsaws, heavy-duty drills for drilling through wood, hammer drills for drilling through concrete, portable handheld tools. We provide all that stuff. This is the stuff that you guys got to have day in and day out. Now this is a little bit tricky to understand, and this is a little bit wordy here, but I'm going to read through this, and if anybody has any questions, let me know. When it comes to your PPE, F&S Frame and Trim is required to purchase and give to any employee any PPE that is legitimately worn down or becomes defective over time, or any PPE that legitimately breaks. All the foremen should have multiple pairs of safety glasses within the truck, and when you're running low, you go buy more at Home Depot and get some more safety glasses. This includes hard hats, safety glasses, full body safety harnesses. Employees to present broken or defective PPE to supervisor, who is to document this information with the tablet, who will discuss with upper management to obtain new PPE for said employee. If the employee cannot present the broken or defective PPE, he or she is responsible for purchasing and utilizing the PPE. Employee may or may not be able to work during this time, and that decision is based on many varying factors, and F&S reserves the right at its sole discretion to allow or disallow the employee from continuing to work during the time when they do not have all of their PPE. If you guys have a legitimate situation with the safety glasses that, they worn down, they broke, we'll get you new ones. Same thing with the hard hat, same thing with the the safety harness. But if we see you intentionally causing harm to your PPE, employee will be fully responsible to replace that particular PPE immediately to continue working with F&S Frame and Trim. Employee also subject to further discipline and possible termination if witness intentionally destroying their PPE. If employee claims normal wear and tear on a particular piece of PPE and direct supervisor concerns of the validity of the employee's explanation, upper management will then get involved and decide. F&S Frame and Trim will discuss each specific situation with both employee and direct supervisor and reserves the right at its sole discretion to determine how to proceed, whether employee or employer is to purchase new PPE. Again, if you have a legitimate situation, I know that's long and drawn out and maybe a little bit confusing, but if you have a legitimate issue, we're going to take care of it, plain and simple. Your tools are to stay with you at all times. In this business, things change very, very quickly. You could be routed to another job site at 10 p.m., 4 a.m., or right in the middle of the day. Another suggestion from F&S, we've already spoken about this, is to have a spare set of pants or shorts in your vehicle. That way, if you're working on a job where the contractor does not require long pants and you're wearing shorts, you can be prepared to be sent to another job where the GC does require long pants by having the spare set in your vehicle. If you are rerouted, you're responsible to have or get all of your tools to be properly prepared to work on another site. In the case you do not follow this requirement and do get rerouted during non-working hours and cannot comply due to having your tools, you're subject to further discipline. It's really frustrating when Mike and I, are sending out a text at 5:30 in the morning, or 5:30 in the afternoon, or 9 p.m. When we hear, oh, my stuff is all in Mark's truck, or all my stuff is on the job site, or whatever. We understand that's a convenience, but we don't want to be rerouting you. We want everyone to basically go back to the same job, but shit happens. Things change. You might have a 6-man crew that has to go do a 12-man job. You might have a 6-man crew that has to go do a 3-man job. Keep your stuff on you at all times. F&S Frame and Trim is not responsible for employee tools at any time during your employment, whether you leave your tools on one of our job sites or leave them in one of our company vehicles. It shouldn't happen. But if you do leave your stuff out there, like the guy who left the cordless tools and whatnot, well, all that stuff got stolen, that's on you. Your stuff should be in your vehicles when you're done with your workday for obvious multiple reasons that we just spoke about. Transportation. This is construction. I once had a guy that I had a really good 20-minute phone interview with, and he lived in Madeira Beach, and he said he couldn't be more than 20 minutes away from Madeira Beach. I asked him if we should just focus all of our work on Madeira Beach. We can't do that, guys. I know where I'm going every day. Kim knows where she's going every day. Your guys' stuff is constantly changing. We might have a Fenway where we're there for a year, an IMG that's a 6-month job, but you guys got to get to wherever we needed to get you to. If we take anything out of town, typically you'll be paid to get there, put up in a hotel. We've done that recently. We've had rental houses, hotels, things like that. We don't like the out-of-town stuff. We really don't. Trust me, we really don't. However, we're about relationships. And if our customer wants to build a doghouse, all right, we'll build it. If they want to build a 10,000 square foot mansion, yes, we'll build it. 100,000 square foot ALF, absolutely, we're going to build it. So you guys got to get to wherever it is you need to get every single day. We try and take into account your location. But sometimes you guys live in Polk City. Sometimes you guys live in, Spring Hill. Sometimes you guys live over there, and the only thing we have is Bradenton, or the only thing we have is St. Pete, or the only thing we have is Brooksville. So we'll try and take into account where you're at, but the job sites are always moving. They're never, ever permanent. All jobs end, and the sites are never permanent. You need to be able to get to the signed job site every single day. F&S Frame and Trim will make an effort to keep each employee close to their homes. However, a wide variety of reasons are factored in when deciding which employees go to certain sites: skill set, location, reliability, familiarity with a particular job and our foreman. We work the entire Tampa Bay area, and our typical working areas are up to Brooksville, out to Lakeland, as far south as Sarasota. In certain cases, we may have an employee that lives in Spring Hill, and the only work we have for that individual could be Lakewood Ranch. The employee is responsible to get to each site they're sent to every single day. F&S Frame and Trim does not pay for travel time, nor does it do any reimbursements for gas. Yeah.
What about tolls?
No, we don't do tolls anymore. It got to be too much of a pain, and now you have the ones that you don't have the person at, so you can't get a receipt and everything, and it just became too much of a pain in the ass. Orientation. Applicants will receive a copy of the employee handbook during their orientation, along with the video of management administering the company guidelines. An applicant is not considered an employee of F&S Frame and Trim until orientation is completed. The applicant is to watch the video, read the handbook, and once completed, sign the acknowledgement of understanding form. Following this, the applicant will be considered an employee. Orientation also entails safety training, as well as educating the new employee on our drug-free workplace conditions. Orientation takes place at the F&S Frame and Trim office, approximately 4 hours to complete. All new employees are compensated $10 per hour for orientation. This doesn't apply to anybody here. This is just in here along with the introduction welcome for anybody that's new. All right, tools and equipment. F&S Frame and Trim provides specialized tools and equipment when needed. Much of this equipment is designed to perform a specific task easier and faster than it could done manually. These tools and equipment should only be used for the purpose designed. Please treat these tools and equipment as if they were your own. These tools and equipment allow us to do our jobs, and we require that you are proactive, safe, and smart in the use of any and all tools and equipment. If you do not know how to use a specific tool and or equipment, please discuss with your direct supervisor before the use of said tool and or equipment. Any employee abusing company tools and or equipment will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. You guys see that stuff out there, them walkboards, the scaffolding, all that stuff costs money. We had once where someone ran over the 24-foot walkboard with a forklift, and then someone wrote on the forklift plank crusher, like it was a joke. You know how much one of them 24-foot walkboards cost? Anybody know how much a 24-foot walkboard, the 24-footers that are the heavy duty and whatnot? $600. $600, and this walkboard was all jacked up and everything, and I was not happy to see plank crusher. Bad things happen, mistakes happen, nail guns get dropped, shit happens, but you guys got to remember, at the end of the day, when we're figuring bonuses, promotions, raises, Christmas bonuses, if the company has this much left over, this much money after all expenses are paid, everybody's going to get a piece of it. The company comes back, has this much money, nobody's getting shit on top of what their salary is. It's a good market right now. The market's going to stop. What were you guys doing in 2010?
Graduating
All right. Wow. That makes me feel old. Damn it, man. My point is, in 2010, we were starving. Everybody in our industry was not doing well. We went from 70 guys in the boom years of 04, 05, 06, down to 4 at our lowest point. We averaged about 10 guys for about 6 years. I can't tell you how many times that we almost went out of business. There's a lot of companies that did go out of business. Personally, I don't think that we're going to see another recession like that. That was borderline depression. That was horrible. And one thing that has stuck with me during that time is I worked 5 years out in the field, and then when I came in the office, it was in 2008, to learn estimating and to learn a bunch of different things. I can't tell you how many times I went in the old man's office and was like, dude, did I make the wrong choice here? I feel like I'm throwing my life away. I've worked so hard, and now it's been, 8 years with the company, and it was bad. The financials would come in, and he'd say, do you want to review them? I go, no, man, it's 10 a.m. on Tuesday. I don't want to go start drinking right now. Whereas there's no reason for us to look at these things, because every single time that we would look at our reports and everything, we were losing money. It was really, really bad. And the main reason that we're sitting here talking to you guys, and everybody's in this room, is that my dad was smart enough to know during those years, 04, 05, 06, we had stuff going out crazy, we just couldn't keep up. He stocked that money away. That money floated us through. We didn't go crazy and buy a bunch of things. Some of our customers were into race cars. They bought race cars. People were making a lot of money during those years. The banks were giving out money to everybody left and right, and he was smart enough to know. Did he realize, or did he anticipate, 7 years, 6 years, whatever the recession was? No. But he really coached me and told me, just be patient. This will turn at some point. It just dragged on for a long period of time. So when I think about back then and think about how, I don't want to use the word depressed, but it was difficult for me. Personally, I was dealing with my daughter's situation with seizures and developmental delays. I was going through divorce. And then on top of it, we weren't making any money. My pay got cut. Mike's pay got cut. Gary's pay got cut. Steve's pay, everybody's pay got cut. It was so bad that we got to a point of the $50 a month dumpster we had. Well, we got rid of it and we split a dumpster to save $25 a month with our neighbor. It was really, really bad. And eventually the market is going to come down again. It's cyclical. It's a mathematical certainty. It's going to happen again. So we need to maximize this time right now. We need to hit it hard, because there are going to be point where layoffs are going to happen. Personally, I still think we have a few more years, but it's the market and no one knows. No one has a crystal ball, but we had to lay off a lot of good people during those years. We made some business mistakes during that time. We went skeleton crew. So we had, how many crews we had back then? About 8? 8 or so crews, 05, 06, and 60, 65, 70 people out in the field. And once the recession started to happen, we could feel, we dropped down and kind of kept the trucks still going, and got rid of some people on the lower end of the totem pole and did skeleton crews. That proved to be really not a good idea. It got down to a point, I think even Steve was driving his personal vehicle, because Mike, at no fault of Mike was the field supervisor and doing what he does now, but it got so bad that he put the tools back on. When you got 4 guys, 8 guys, there's not a lot of field to supervise. So he went back out to swinging the hammer day in and day out for years, literally years. And Steve was driving his own personal vehicle, and Mike was driving the van. So it's going to happen. It was no fun at all, and I tried to look back at those experiences and not get too overconfident with the way things are going. I try to remember some of those times to make you appreciate some of the better times, and things are going okay right now. There's always room for improvement, but keep in mind that the faucet's going to get turned off at some point. We had to let a guy go. It was the hardest thing my dad has ever done. 29 years with our company. 29 years he was with our company at that time. And looking back, it was the right decision in the sense of tough decisions need to be made sometimes. And it broke his heart, but it was the right decision, and it was tough. It was tough. So you guys can remember, some of you guys were here. Steve was here, obviously. Brian is coming on board. When did you start with us?
10.
Was it 10? Okay. Well, Brian started with us out in the field, and we'd work for a few weeks, and then we didn't have anything for him. And then we worked for a few weeks. Gary took pay cuts, and it was it was really a bad time, and we need to try and hit it hard now because it's going to slow down again at some point. Personnel data changes. It is the responsibility of each employee to notify the payroll coordinator of any changes in personnel data such as address, telephone numbers, email address, bank account info, emergency contact information. All employees' personal data should always be accurate and current. If you move, we need to know. We need to know for multiple reasons: for your tax stuff to get sent to you, and then for which crew you're working on, which job. So some of this stuff is pretty self-explanatory, but if you guys move or any information changes, we need to know. We never have any issues when anybody's bank account changes. They always let us know immediately then. But anything changes on the personal side of things for any of this stuff, you guys gotta let us know. Inclement weather, emergency closings. At times, emergencies such as severe weather, fires, or power fails can disrupt company operations. The decision to close the office and/or job sites will be made by upper management. Employees will be notified immediately when any such scenario presents itself. Time off from scheduled work due to emergency closings will be unpaid. However, employees will be permitted to use vacation and/or personal time if it is available to them. I don't remember if it was Irma. One hurricane came through. I hope the person's not with us, but someone called me or texted me and asked if they were going to get paid for missing time due to the hurricane. During that time, it was basically guys, girls, get your families ready, get your houses ready, get your stuff in order. We're not working. I think we ended up working a little bit for anybody that was comfortable working up until the point of when it was, okay, here we go. We're in Florida. Hurricanes happen. If you guys don't work, you don't get paid. If a hurricane comes through and wipes shit out, kind of every man for himself. We're not going to discipline anyone or be upset with someone. And we had guys take off multiple days in advance because they needed to board up their house. Some people left. A lot of people left. A lot of people left. And during those emergency type times, you got to take care of your family. You got to do what's best for you. So you'll never be disciplined or anything like that to go ahead and do that. But occasionally that does happen. All right, corrective action. Infractions against company policies and procedures are detrimental to our goal. F&S Frame and Trim holds each of its employees to certain work rules and standards of conduct. When an employee deviates from these rules and standards, corrective action will be taken. Corrective action is progressive. That is, the action taken in response to the rule, infraction, or violation of standard typically follows a pattern, increasing in seriousness until the infraction or violation is correct. The usual sequence of corrective actions include a verbal warning, a written warning, unpaid suspension, and finally termination of employment. Though committed to a progressive approach to corrective action, F&S Frame and Trim considers certain rule infractions and violations of standards grounds for immediate termination of employment. These include, but are not limited to, theft, insubordination, being under the influence of alcohol and/or drugs, vandalism, destruction of company property, falsification of company records and/or untruthfulness about personal work history, skills, or training. In a nutshell, don't be a pain in the ass. And I don't mean to be so blunt with that statement, but everybody in this room has a general idea on what our policies and procedures are. Just abide by them, follow them. You got any questions, issues, whatever. You come to work for a month straight and you're not late and you stroll in 5 minutes late one day, foreman's not going to say anything. He's not going to say one thing to you. He's not going to break your you-know-what. We don't want to micromanage. We don't want to have anyone think that the guillotine is ready to drop at all times. I know a lot of you guys who work with CCA. I don't want to speak negatively about CCA, but from what I'm told, I've never worked with another framing company before. What I'm told, it's more motivation by fear and intimidation. We don't do that at this company. We treat you with respect, but we're also going to hold you accountable. If you're supposed to be at a certain spot at 7 a.m., you're not there, you haven't communicated, that's going to be a problem. If you tell us that, you have your daughter this weekend and you can't work, okay, not a problem. So we expect certain things, and we don't want to have that motivation or leadership by fear. We had a guy one time work with CCA and told me a story that he was on the roof and he got a text or phone call. His mom had a stroke, and he told his supervisor at CCA. Supervisor said, "You sure you want to leave?" It's like, my mom had a stroke. I got to go. You sure you want to do that? And the guy's like, what? My mom just had a stroke. I got to go. And he said, I'm just saying, I don't know if you have a job when you come back. I constantly try and put myself in other people's shoes, your guys' shoes, the customer's shoes, the vendor's shoes. If I was working with someone and I said that and they said that, I'd say, you know what? I don't need this. I don't need this job at all. I'll go find someone else because my mom just had a stroke. If you guys have plans to go to the beach all weekend and get drunk and we need you to work on Saturday, we're going to expect you to work on Saturday. If we tell you on Friday, hey, Alberto, we got this job, it's not done, we need to finish tomorrow because we got the other one starting on Monday, and he says, I got 20 people coming over for my daughter's birthday party tomorrow, we'll get someone else from another crew. That's important. Go ahead and do that. We don't want to, have a lot of corrective action. We don't want to be doing this. We're laying out all the rules right now, telling you guys all what's expected of you. Come in, know your role, do your job. Don't be a pain in the ass. Standards of conduct. The work rules and standards of conduct for F&S Frame and Trim are important, and the company regards them seriously. All employees are urged to become familiar with these rules and standards. In addition, employees are expected to follow the rules and standards faithfully in doing their jobs and conducting the company's business. Please note that any employee who deviates from these rules and standards will be subject to corrective action. While not intended to list all the forms of behavior that are considered unacceptable in the workplace, the following are examples of rule infractions or misconduct that may result in disciplinary action, including termination of employment. Theft or inappropriate removal of possession of property, falsification of company records, including timekeeping records, working under the influence of alcohol or illegal drugs, possession, distribution, sale, transfer, or use of alcohol or illegal drugs in the workplace, fighting or threatening violence in the workplace. I want to pause here for those last two. If you guys know people are doing drugs, people are selling drugs, please bring it to our attention. That's completely unacceptable. It's completely unsafe. And they're putting everyone on the line. It's not just myself. If the guy next to you is high or if he's selling drugs, he's messing with your livelihood too. And you could get hurt. If we have the wrong accident, everything that we've all worked for, especially someone who's been here 23 years, 39 years, 14 years, could be all gone very, very quickly. Fighting or threatening violence in the workplace. Brandon Manis has been with us for quite a while. He called me one time, it was probably in 15 or 16. I was walking down the side of the road and said he got so upset, so pissed off that he felt he was going to fight. I think it was Sean. I can't remember who it was. And him and Sean were two peas in a pod, close buddies and whatever. And he called me and you could feel, he was just pissed off. And he said, I'm just letting you know, I'm going to walk it off. That's fine. That is fine if you have that issue. We've had other issues before. Sometimes we're not going to see eye to eye, okay? Me and this guy sometimes, we have a saying. We say, you know what, I'll just fucking talk to you later. And then you wait an hour, and then you calm down. We're all at the age where we realize emotions and stuff run high. People disagree. There's conflict. I don't run from conflict. I'd rather not deal with it, but sometimes you're not going to see the same thing that I see. And you're going to be upset with me, and I'm going to be upset with you. We move forward. Yes, and I'll tell the story. So that was a good move on Brandon. If it comes to that situation, just remove yourself from that situation, even if you got to leave for the day or whatever the case is. You're not getting along with someone. In general, talk to Mike, talk to me. We'll see what we can do. But if you get to that point of being that heated, it's perfectly acceptable to remove yourself from the situation and go home for the day or whatever it is, or even maybe leave for an hour or whatever it is. Me and Dan had a situation years ago we always talk about. Steve, we're not going to get into the details, but it was a heated conversation. We didn't see eye to eye at all, and there was some curse words, there was some yelling, and Steve was in on the call, and maybe 20 minutes after the conversation, Steve called and said, Dan wants to know if he should take his tools. And I go, take his tools where? Well, you should have taken your tools because he should have stayed with you. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, is he fired? And I go, no, why would he be fired? And Steve goes, were you not there for the conversation that just took place? And I go, yeah, did I say he was fired? I said we had a disagreement. And I felt one way and he felt another way. And I said, no, he's still with the company and our relationship has gotten better. So we're going to see, we're going to have conflicts, we're going to have issues, we're going to have problems. And usually when you work through those problems, your relationship becomes stronger and better. I can guarantee you, Gary has said things under his breath about, some of the stuff that I've asked him to do or whatever, or time frames, things like that. And we keep it respectful, and if it's that big of a deal, then we shake hands and we go our separate ways. Boisterous or disruptive activity in the workplace. I want to have a good time. I came from a crew, my first 9 months, my dad put me with a subpar crew to learn the basics. He said, I'm not sending you out to Mike because you don't know anything. I didn't know how to put a tap con in. I knew nothing about nothing. So I went with 9 months. And this crew was okay, but there was a lot of yelling and not a lot of teamwork. And it just wasn't the best atmosphere to have what we felt was a productive crew working. We got stuff done, but I'll never forget going to Mike's crew. One of the first things I ever did was we were at this place called Berghofen. It was a nice, 7,000 square foot custom home on the water, and I had met him a couple times. I really didn't know him. He didn't really know me. And we come in, and the second floor is concrete floor, and there was water all over the place. And he comes over, he's like, get your chalk line out, snap some lines in that water right there. And I'm like, what? I'm like, you want me to? He's like, yeah, go ahead and do it. So I started to go do it. He goes, dumbass, are you serious? You're really going to do that right now? That's basically how we met on his job site. So I actually got worse. I got the worst treatment because I worked with his little brother and because I was the boss's son. So we would just get yelled at, not constantly, but we were young. Me and Brian were young at the time, and sometimes we would lose focus. And he'd come over, and he never really let you go more than an hour without checking. So if he came over and we had made a step wrong early in the process, we messed up, he'd light us up. He would light us up, and there was no feelings of, you can't talk to me that way because I'm a man. It was more of, shit, I let him down. I felt like I let my dad down. And he's right. I screwed this up. I wasn't paying attention, and I started building this soffit right here, and it's completely out of square, or he told me to make it 24 inches, and it's 18 inches, or whatever it is. So we grew to know each other better, and we would listen to 80s music in this particular day and age. And we would just have a good time. We would make fun of each other. We had certain guys on the crew that, had their strengths and weaknesses and personalities and everything, and I just remember wanting to come to work pretty much every day. And even in the summertime, when it was still hot, you're going to have a good time. You're going to learn some stuff. You're going to build some stuff. You're going to accomplish some stuff that you can feel proud of. But we had fun. We had a lot of fun. That's what I miss most about being in the fields: camaraderie, making fun of each other, having a good time out there. We have it within the office, but it's just different out there with you guys. So this boisterous and disruptive activity in the workplace, that's causing a scene. That's being completely negative. That's screaming and cursing and stuff like that. And also be aware of your surroundings. If you're out at Heartwood and there's not much going on, we can be a little bit more loud, and we can have the radio going a little bit more. If you're doing 30 units condo on the water, Jay, yeah, you can't be screaming and cursing and whatever. And I'm gonna make fun of Jay a little bit, but when the contractor called, we were redoing 30 units, and it was it 16 gauge? It was all thick metal. We don't do a lot of metal. And it sucks working with that stuff, and it's not something that we do. So the contractor called, this is 3 or 4 years ago, contractor called and said, there's beachgoers, there's patrons, there's people all over, the kids all over the place, and it's like the guys are just cursing and yelling and whatever. So I got there and I sit down with the crew, and I didn't talk to Jay first, so just get the whole crew down, and I'm like, really guys? I go, look over there, there's 7-year-olds over there. You can't do that in this particular job site. We're on the water. This is a high-end area. There's kids, there's females. You can't do all that. Jay's the first one that said, it's mostly my fault. And I'm like, really? The foreman? And I said, really? So, we got to keep in mind what we're doing and what we're doing. It was frustrating. It was hard dealing with that stuff, screwing all that stuff in there with that thick metal. It was a pain in the ass. Negligence or improper conduct leading to damage company-owned or customer-owned property. Accidents happen. Nail guns get broken. Nail guns get run over by forklifts. Stuff happens. Don't do it on purpose. That's a fireable offense. If you go ahead and you damage something because you're pissed off, That's just childish, and that's something. Stuff is going to happen, but don't do anything on purpose. Don't deface our materials, our equipment, our tools, anything like that. Insubordination or other disrespectful conduct. No, you can't curse out your supervisor. We can have a discussion, though, you know, and I've had it before where a guy was working with us, and it was probably 2010, and Mike was back out in the field, and a pretty good guy that was with our company at the time called and was just complaining about him. And he's like, he can't talk to me that way. You know, I'm a man and whatever. And I said, Jose, there's no way in hell I'm calling Mike to talk to him about this, okay? Okay? If he's, you know, ripping you open, it's because you're not paying attention, because you're screwing off. There's a reason for it. He doesn't just go around because he's bored and to try and tell everyone he's the boss and that he's just going to be demeaning and disrespectful. There's a reason he's ripping you open. It's because you're not focused, because you're not performing. You're not doing what you should be doing. The guy ended up staying with us for a while. He's not with us anymore. But when it comes to Mike, he's the boss. You know, you want to have a discussion? That's fine. Me and him have had heated discussions before. We say, you know what, let's just talk about this later. Because I'm pissed off because we have this problem, because we got stressed. We're dealing with a lot of stress. So you got to be respectful. We're respectful to you guys, and you got to be respectful to us as well. Failure to adhere to safety regulations, procedures, and policies. It's extremely important. We've gotten OSHA fines over the years. We've gotten people injured. Again, what we do is very dangerous. So safety is very, very, very important to us. And it's unfortunate. The way I grew up is totally different than where we're at right now. I grew up shirt off, tennis shoes on the roof, get it done. I didn't even know what a safety harness was. That's just the way it was back in the day. But things have changed as time has gone on with safety, with injuries. The number one concern for us is your safety. We want you to go home with 10 fingers, 10 toes, no broken bones, but unfortunately stuff does happen. We've gotten OSHA fines that severely hamper our ability to do bonuses, promotions, raises, things like that. It's more likely not that I will be in front of OSHA at some point. And I've been there before in front of their board and looking at the pictures and saying, I can't say anything about that. It's blatant, it's bold. The last fine we got was astronomically expensive. And the way OSHA works is if you have repeat violations, they look at the employer and say, well, you're not doing anything about it. So that last fine was X amount of dollars, now we're going to triple it. And get very, very, very expensive very, very quickly. So when we're doing all this safety meetings on Mondays, and then once a month we'll do safety training where me and Michael sit down with the foreman and we'll go through and do forklift safety, whatever it is. That's important for us to both administer that so everyone is more educated and is better at their job. But when I go in front of OSHA, I'm going to have a stack of paperwork this much saying, hey, we're trying, because they look at it from the employer's perspective on how much effort are you giving? Are you spending time? Are you spending money? So again, I grew up in a different world, and a lot of the guys that are older in here grew up that same way with no harnesses, none of that stuff. You just went and you did your job. So safety is extremely important to us, and it's very important for the foreman to document all this safety stuff. And let us know. When we were bidding and going through doing IMG, you know, we decided, let's just put the safety rails up. Right. A lot of you guys have seen the video. Some of you guys worked on the job. Unlawful or unwelcome harassment, including sexual harassment, excessive absenteeism, tardiness, or failure to come to work, unauthorized use of company-owned equipment, unauthorized disclosure of confidential information, especially you foremen, the office employees. That's a big one because our information is private. Violation of personnel policies, unsatisfactory performance or conduct, failure to meet performance and work quality standards, solicitation or acceptance of outside work, side work from customers, gambling on company property and company job sites, possession, sale, or use of firearms or other weapons on company premises or while on company business, We are believers in the Second Amendment. If anybody has that issue, you can talk to me about, but for the most part, we don't want any guns or weapons or anything on the job site. Yeah, if you have a concealed weapons permit and that's your right. So I can't do that, but don't talk about it, don't bring it out or anything like that. Refusal to follow management directions or instructions concerning any job-related function. Deliberate concealment of another employee's misconduct. Again, back to this. We know you guys don't want to be the rat, so to speak, but if people are screwing off, if people are doing drugs, people are doing drinking, things like that, we need to know about it. And we're not going to throw you under the bus and, you know, send a memo to all employees that this person said this and this person said that. Another thing on that note, don't speak honestly, speak factually. Don't try and make someone else look bad to make yourself look better. There was that one guy at Fenway, the guy that was with us for a couple weeks. All he's doing is texting me about another employee that's not with us anymore, and texting me about this and that and the other thing, and he was with us for 2 or 3 weeks, and eventually I just said, stop. And then I talked to Mark, and he wasn't performing that well himself. I said, focus on what you can control. Focus on what your tasks are. Don't worry about everybody else. That's Mark's job in this particular case, or that's Mike's job. So don't make anybody else look bad at your expense to make yourself look better. Posting, removing, or defacing notices, signs, or writings on company property, company job sites, or company equipment without proper permission. Embezzlement, theft of any money, property, or inventory belonging to company or the company's customers. A lot of you guys have not been here for a long period of time. Some of you have been here. The way I was raised was principles. You know, you work hard, you're humble, you respect people, you never know what other people are going through. You don't steal, you don't cheat, you do things the right way. During that time, shit happens. You make mistakes, you know, you make some bad decisions, some wrong decisions, but when it comes to what is right and what we're about, we will go to whatever lengths it is in order to make things right, in our opinion. And I have a couple quick stories. One was Dan sent me a text a couple years ago and said, hey man, I'm gonna offer up, and this gun looks just like our gun, and it has the markings of our gun and whatever. So we looked into it. I said, you know, you want to buy it? Not from us. He went and bought it, and he brought the gun to me. I looked it up, found the serial number, everything. It was absolutely our gun. Well, where'd you get it from? Well, he told me where he got it from. It was a former employee that we had fired because he was doing drugs, and he was not being a good team player, and it just wasn't working. So once I got this information, I called the cops, and the cop came out, and I gave him, said I want to file a police report and all this stuff. And he's like, okay, well, what do you want to do with this? And I go, what do you mean, what do I want to do with it? The guy should be arrested. He stole our stuff. He said, well, what are you going to do with the gun? I said, well, it's his gun now. He bought it, so I don't want anything to do with the gun. The cop tried to get me out of it. He's like, you know, how much is the gun worth? I'm like, in that condition, I don't know, $100, like $200 brand new. Okay, well, you know, he's like, you know, if you go through with this, you know, you might have to go to court. You have to come make see the attorney general, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay. He's like, you really want to go through with this? And I go, absolutely. And he's like, you sure? Well, the employee and the employee's girlfriend probably gonna have to go through the same thing. And I go, that's fine. And they'll get paid to go do it too. You sure you want to do this? And I go, listen, buddy, this is the way I was raised, okay? This is right and wrong. So whatever it takes, you know, yes, I want to go through with this. Me, Dan, and Liz went down to the, I don't know where it was, the jail or whatever it was, and had to talk to some girl or whatever. And she's like, you know, do you want this to be a misdemeanor or a felony? I'm like, I have the choice. I don't know how this stuff works. And she said, well, you're the victim. I said, you know what? Go with felony. She's like, do you want jail time or prison time? And I go, again, I have the choice. Well, the judge will hear you out or whatever. I said, you know what? Prison time. The guy stole our stuff, and now it's just a matter of principle. So Dan went and did that. Dan got paid for his time to do that, paid his girlfriend for her time to do that, and I believe I gave you a small bonus on top of it for doing the right thing. What? Whatever. So it was just the point of he did what, and he kept the nail gun too. You know, he kept the nail gun. He bought the nail gun and whatever, and it was just, we had proof from this particular employee. It was the same address we had on file. It was the same guy. We knew where the gun came from, and we wanted to make a point. My dad once, 20 years ago, got screwed out of $650. And the contractor basically called and said, I know the rules, I don't have to pay you that. Because they had gotten some disagreements towards the end of the job, whatever. And my dad said, really? $650? You know we did the work, you know, just trust me, you're going to want to go ahead and pay this thing. The guy laughed at him and said, you know, you can't do shit about it. And my dad said, okay, you just grabbed the wrong rattlesnake by the tail. 2 years, $30,000 in court costs. And when he went in front of the judge looked and said, hold on a second, you two businessmen are here over $650. And then my dad said, Judge, by this time, it doesn't matter to me. It's the principle. I did the work, you know, we had the paperwork to document it and everything, and this guy thinks he's gonna screw me. I know it's not a massive amount of money, but that's my money. We did this is all legitimate. So he ended up winning. That guy had to pay all of his attorneys. So the guy probably spent $40,000 between the two attorneys and everything to try and screw us out of $650. This is before my time with the company. And then my dad sent him a Christmas card. And I said, Dear Ernie, hope all is well, love Fritz. That's kind of the way my dad has taught me, is that you treat people with respect, you do the right thing, but if someone is immoral, someone steals from you, someone does something like that, the gloves come off and there's no more ethics involved. All right, attendance, punctuality. When an employee fails to report to work as scheduled, it makes it difficult for us to serve our customers. Every employee plays an important role in our operation, and absences or tardiness places an unnecessary burden on fellow employees. Employees are therefore expected to report on work on time as scheduled. Now guys, again, if you have an issue, just let us know. And we've had before a guy didn't show up for work. I blew him up with texting, phone calls, lovely voicemail, really nice text messages saying, where are you? He called me around 10 o'clock. He goes, man, I'm really sorry. I've been in the hospital since 3 a.m. with my daughter. I said, dude, disregard that text, disregard that voicemail. Don't even listen to it. I apologize. That's not a problem. If you're in jail, if you're in the hospital, you have some emergency situation, that no call, no show will be overlooked for a legitimate reason. And even if you don't no call, no show until 9 o'clock, and dude, I had a really long night, I just got up, you know what I mean? We're not going to be happy with it, but we can deal with that kind of stuff. So when you don't come to work as scheduled, it screws up a lot of different things. All right, so we actually put all this stuff in writing here for you guys to understand. I want everybody to listen. Now, Butch, I'll help you out if you need to learn how to group text, okay? Butch finally got a phone, everybody. Butch got a phone. Butch got a phone.
I just talked in the phone until I want to go.
All right. Most of you guys have heard the story. I got to tell the story real quick. Butch came to interview, and we talked, and then we got to the cell phone. He goes, I don't have a cell phone. I go, you got to have a cell phone. Rain days, you know, changes, whatever. Butch goes to get up. I go, well, what? He had 6 years, I believe, with another framing company, 6 years. So as everything looked good on the application, he seemed like a good guy. So we made a decision that Butch didn't have to get a cell phone because he was going to walk out the door if we made him get a cell phone. Butch has driven to Fenway and multiple other jobs to go in and say, Mark, I'm sick today, I'm not coming in, and then driven home. So, yeah. And an example of what we were just talking about with communication, he does a no call, no show, I think it was the last week or whatever, and he ended up calling me from some weird number and said, hey man, it's Butch. And I go, hey man, you okay? He goes, I was driving all around, I couldn't find a place, so I just came home. That particular case, it doesn't happen. So then he got a cell phone. So Butch, we're proud of you for that. All right, if you're unable to report for work or running late for any reason, you must do the following. Field employees, group text. Group text. Does anybody here, beside Butch, not know how to group text? Good. Your direct supervisor foreman. That foreman needs to know right when you know you're running late or you're not going to be there, that foreman has a game plan. He needs to know. The field supervisor, right here, he needs to know too. The payroll coordinator, she needs to know because every single Monday, me and her spend 2 hours, 3 hours, tracking down this, what about this, what about this, what about this. It's pretty frustrating when we're trying to get things going for the week and we don't know where people are. So if Aaron's copied on all this stuff, it helps us so much that I can go back and look through my phone and Russ was late that, oh yeah, Russ had that issue, or whatever it was, or Steve, whatever the case may be. And then,
Go back and I don't need to bother Matt about it.
right.
I already got the information.
And then me, I just want to know what's going on. He's taken over a lot of the stuff that we kind of worked before together with you going here, you doing this, and it's always real difficult for us to keep the customers happy, the right amount of manpower, and then other times it's difficult for us to keep you guys busy. We had a lot of that stuff going on at the yard work. Company didn't want to pay that stuff, but the yard needed some attention, and we know whether you're working or not, your bills are still going to be coming in. So when we're doing stuff at the shop, or if we're doing stuff like back in the day, we used to go trim my grandparents' hedges, you know, when my dad was more in my position. That was because we needed something to do for the guys, and we don't like anybody sitting at home, and we don't want to risk losing anybody, and we know that you have a job, but it's very difficult for us to keep the customers happy with the manpower, and then also keep everybody busy too. So send that group text with the 4 of us, why you're going to be late and miss, and when you expect to arrive. And again, you can use personal. If it's something that's embarrassing, something that's upsetting, something that you don't want to talk about, personal. But again, if you use personal and you're out once a week for a personal reason for 5 weeks in a row, that's not going to fly. But in general, you have a personal issue, that's fine. Stuff comes up. Does everybody understand the group text when you're missing and running late? Same thing with the office. It's just me, Kim, and let us know what's going on, if you're going to be late, if you have any issues in there. Public image professionalism. Again, we market our company as a safety-oriented, professional, turnkey framing contractor. Field personnel are always required to wear proper footwear, no sneakers or tennis shoes, and to keep their shirts on. The job site and contractor's requirements dictate if we're allowed to wear shorts or if we're required to wear long pants. Again, we grew up in a different era where we didn't have harnesses, we did this. We understand what you guys do is hard work, it's hot, and it's sweaty, and you're probably not going to smell that great, but when we go by and you see guys working on a residential home and they all got their shirts off and no one's wearing harness stuff, that does not look good from the contractor's perspective. So we want you to have your shirts on at all times. Shorts, again, if contractor says, okay, that's fine. We want to have a level of professionalism. I mean, we lost guys before. I can't tell you how many times we've had a carpenter sitting in the office interviewing and say, my shirt comes off, I can sheet that whole roof in a day and I don't wear my harness. And I say, okay, well, I appreciate you coming in, but it's not going to work. We are the professional framing contractor. We're establishing a culture in here that is what we're talking about right now: safety, professionalism, accountability, communication. And while we're doing all these things, we're going to smile a little bit, have some fun, build some stuff. Social media posting. I love that people post stuff about our company on social media. I want you to be proud in what you build and what you do, but I need to know what's going on. OSHA can now fine you based on a picture. If they can see it's our company and one of our employees, they can fine you off of a picture. And there's other things that I might not want up there. So I don't want to limit anybody from social media posting, but just run it by me real quick. So let's read this real quick. Social media posts regarding company operations are to be submitted for approval through management. We encourage any social media posts with company activities. However, there are certain aspects that could damage or reflect the company in a negative light. Submit any and all social media post requests via text or email to Matt Wolf for approval. Again, I don't want it to be, well, this is just a pain in my ass, so I'm not going to post anything. I want you guys to post the pictures. I just don't want someone that's 4 stories in the air not wearing a harness that goes on social media, and then they come back to us and say, hey, that's a yellow F&S truck, and that's your safety green shirt, and here's your $20,000 fine, which they can do. And I just found this out recently. And I also might not want to put certain things up there for other reasons that you guys might be privy to that information, you might not be. But by all means, I'd love for everybody to post a bunch of different stuff on there. You can see our F&S Facebook page, which is all stuff coming from me. I love getting that stuff out there for marketing. I want people to drive by and see that yellow truck or see that yellow sign. Say, geez, these guys are everywhere. They must be really good at what they do, especially if it's a contractor. I'm gonna call those guys and see if they'll give me a quote or a bid for some framing work I got coming up. Social Security, Medicare, under federal insurance Contributions Act, better known as the Social Security Act. FNS Frame and Trim withholds income tax from all employees' earnings and participates in FICA, Social Security, and Medicare withholding and matching programs as required by law. Again, we don't mess around when it comes to this kind of stuff. You guys come from all different parts of the country, all different other companies. We're not the people that pay under the table. We're not the people that screw anybody over with their money. Everything is by the book when it comes to taxes and abiding by the laws. Workers' compensation. Workers' compensation is paid entirely by FNS Frame and Trim and protects you in the event of occupational injury or sickness. You must immediately report any on-the-job accident, no matter how small, to your supervisor or foreman. When medical care is required for on-the-job injuries, employees must go initially to a designated medical facility unless it's an emergency. In the case of an emergency, employees are to call 911 for whatever care may be needed. It's expensive. It's very, very, very expensive. I don't get upset if we have to file a claim. I don't want to file any claims, and the goal is that no one gets hurt. But we're not sitting behind a desk. You know, most of us are not sitting behind a desk. Stuff happens, and cuts happen, and things happen. So if there is ever any issues and we need to file a claim, then we file a claim. Does anybody have any questions or concerns about that? All right, vacation. Vacation is available to employees following 1 year of employment. Thank you. Paid vacation is 5 days based on a 40-hour work week. Vacation time must be requested in advance. Earned vacation time cannot be taken before it is accrued and approved. Vacation pay may be taken in 1 day increments of time. This benefit can be rescinded by FNS Frame and Trim at any time in its sole discretion. If the company chooses to remove the paid vacation benefit, every current employee who is eligible will be paid a prorated lump sum. If an employee leaves the company for any reason during his or her employment prior to reaching their anniversary, they are not entitled to any vacation pay. If an employee leaves the company and returns at a later date, the later date is when their vacation pay would apply after 1 year of continuous employment from that date. A maximum of 1 week paid vacation may be carried over from one calendar year to the next. However, no more than 1 week of vacation may be taken at one time unless approved by upper management. If you guys are going to be taking a vacation, we need to know, especially foremen and office people. But we implemented this in October 1st, 2015, once the recession, we were coming out of the recession and whatnot, and it's a benefit. Some framing companies offer it, a lot of them don't, with regards to this paid vacation. And you do not have to take the time off. You can say, hey, you know, I want my weeks paid or whatever it is. Aaron handles most of this kind of stuff. Is there any questions with regards to vacation pay? You got a question? Yeah, we're gonna ask that in general. We like providing some of these benefits. We really take pride in that we don't screw anybody around with their money. And I'll give you a couple quick scenarios. Anthony Jackson. A few of you remember Anthony Jackson. Anthony was a good kid. Really worked hard, didn't have a lot of experience, moved up fairly quickly. Mike really liked working with him. Steve liked working with him. He really worked hard, and he was a younger guy, and he was able to learn. Well, for whatever reason, things started not going so well with him. Lots of rumors on drugs and, hard drugs and things of that nature. And it got to a point of where we were pretty sure he was selling drugs to our employees on our job sites. The final straw was when he was in a OSHA class that JMC, one of our customers, very good customer, provided and paid for, 10 guys or so.
10, yeah.
We had 10 guys or so on a particular job. They said, hey, we're going to pay for someone to come out and train everyone to get an OSHA 10 card. And it just so happened to be on a job that Dan was running and Steve was running. It was two different jobs next to each other. And he was nodding off in the meeting, constantly nodding off in the meeting. That's disrespectful. That's completely unacceptable because someone's paying for this for you. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you kind of nudged him. Dan nudged him and said, hey, keep your eyes open. And he said, if you touch me again, I'm going to beat your ass or something like that. Yeah, something along those lines. At that point, I said, you know what? That's it. I said, Steve, take him home. Take him to get his shit. He's done. We're not putting up with this kind of stuff. That's embarrassing. When it came down to it, a week or two later, Jessica came in the office and said, hey, Anthony was due vacation. I know that's not happening, his vacation pay. And I said, no, go ahead and pay him. She goes, he's selling drugs, probably to our employees on the job site. He's embarrassed us, and you're still going to give him the vacation. At this particular time, we didn't have any of this stuff in writing. So I very easily could have said, you know what? You're not getting your vacation pay. We paid him the money. And I felt that that was the right thing to do, even though he had embarrassed us and he had, made us not look good and whatnot. We don't screw around with your guys' money. There's been instances before where we've underpaid people on an accident that a foreman missed or something like that. We'll get you your money. There's been certain situations where that's happened, and we talk to the employee, and they're like, dude, I need that money like yesterday. I personally cut a check and run it out to them. Well, it would be easier if we could put it in next week's payroll. That'd be easier for everybody, but we do make mistakes. But we pride ourselves on paying everyone what we've agreed to pay, treating everyone with respect, and trying to run a professional, legitimate company here. We're going to get to some questions here in general. Accountability. Like we talked about some of the video stuff, accountability. You're going to be held accountable for your actions, plain and simple. We have a point system that Aaron and Kim and I have kind of implemented, and these points are going to go against your bonus. Me and Mike had talked about how do we get their attention, whether it's the foreman and their safety paperwork or whether it's the carpenters and texting the right people. We have a point system that we're tracking things now. So if you do a no-call, no-show, that's going to be 5% of your whatever bonus is coming to you next is going to be taken out of there. You have a major safety infraction, that's going to be 10%. And then we have other things, not communicating effectively, not doing certain things. Me and Mike had talked about, we have by law, we can implement fines. We can take some of your hourly money if it's going against company policy, as long as it doesn't drop below minimum wage. Mike and I were pretty uncomfortable with that. We didn't want to do that, but we're just constantly saying, how can we get it through their heads? How can we do this so that they could listen to us and do what it is? So now we have a point system. So if your $100 mid-year bonus is coming and we look at it and you got negative 20 for whatever reason, you had a no-call, no-show, you didn't communicate this day, you had a safety infraction, whatever it is, if you got a negative 20, that $100 bonus is now going to be $80. One thing I want to talk about real quick is about relationships. Relationships in general. That's what our company is about. With our employees, with our vendors, with our customers. There's a lot of people out there we don't want to work with. And a lot of you guys don't know this, but you do. I always use Pete. I don't remember his last name, some weird last name, but Pete was a contractor that everything he touched was just crap. Every single thing he touched. He used us exclusively. We got all of his work, but it's just a disaster. You know, we'd send Steve and 4 guys out there, and Steve called, like, tie beam's not poured. What do you want me to do? Well, can't really do much without a poured tie beam. And then I checked my text, and Pete said it was poured the day before. It got to a certain point when Mark was rebuilding some stairs, and it's a long story, and I went out there and I said, Mark, keep me under control, because I'm not going to control myself. I think it was about 5 minutes where I told him, go fuck yourself, give us our money, and don't ever call us ever again. So when it comes to our customers, our vendors, you guys as employees, we're about relationships. We want high character, quality people that understand what's expected of them, know your role, do your job. Plain and simple. The better you do your job and understand, then the more you're going to move up. And again, not to make his big head even bigger, but that's the reason he's sitting here. Back in, you're the only one that's going to know this, actually Gary, and you're the only one that's going to know this, but back in 2005, we needed a field supervisor, and my dad came to me, and I was there a year. I didn't know what I was talking about or what I was doing, and he said, this is the situation I'm in. Mike Irvin's been here 18 years. Mike Talkington's been here 9 years. And Mike Irvin is getting older, and he knows that we're getting a little bit too big and that we do need a field superintendent, a field boss. And he's fully expecting that job. And I think he's fully qualified, but I just think Mike Talkington would be better suited for this particular position. Mike was, I think, 10 years younger, half the time with the company, but my dad felt it was the right move for the company, and it was. He has the ability to build things like I've never seen before but he also knows about accountability. He also knows how to motivate. He also knows, you know, you got to check on guys. Even if you have Steve Chapel on your job, you still got to check on him if it's your job. He's the definition of what you can do. At $6.50 is what he started with. In 2 or 3 years, he was a foreman, which is very, very impressive in the fact that he didn't have a lot of experience. You know, some people can become a foreman pretty quick within a company, but they usually have 10 years or 15 years, you know, working as a foreman with another company. And he has just progressed and just moved up. And we've had our disagreements. We've had our differences, that's for sure. You know, I've upset him. I pissed him off, especially when I was on his crew. But we just want people that understand what their role is, understand what we can provide you, what you can provide us, build some shit, have some fun.